Ah, Rust. What a beautiful game. Except for the incessant slaughter of your character and soul, for that matter. But I digress. I'm here to talk about why cars aren't driven anymore. And I don't know about you, it was almost 2 years ago to the month when the car patch came out. And if you're anything like me, I envisioned it being something like this. Now, although not exactly the same as that, it was good. The modular aspects of the cars, etc., all very good. The reason they're not driven, and I'm assuming you know a bit about the cars and you've played Rust for some time, is for one reason. And they have tried to balance it a couple of times, and I think it's still off. And the reason is, when you find a car, it needs stuff like this. Spark plugs, crankshaft, carburettor, valves, and pistons. Now, getting those 5 items isn't that hard, and they did balance this and increase the rate in which you can get that kind of stuff a while back, I want to say a year. And yes, you can get that stuff, but you still don't often get it on a run. Not like on one run down a road. Not like a horse, you can jump on it, you can use it straight away. A car, you need all 5 of those things. I think it's 5, or is it 6? Well, whatever. And you need some fuel in it as well. And it's not often you've got all 5 of those sitting on you when you come across a car. And plus the fuel. So they made them more commonplace, because I often play on a map that has got medium to low pop and is a monthly wipe. And I must say, if at all, 1 car driven in that entire time. Now, don't get me wrong, the first time that patch was out, I made a garage, I gathered up all the stuff, and I had a car back at the garage, and you can use it whenever you want. It's good and useful. But so as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. Now this, obviously being a bigger engine rather than the one that comes in the module, it needs 2 lots of plugs, valves, and pistons. And in real life, and I know Rust tries to adhere quite to real life, it has to sacrifice a bit of that, obviously for gameplay. But it would be nice to find some of these cars with maybe half these items in, and maybe a bit of fuel. And if you don't want the car, you take the fuel, 20, 30 fuel, whatever. Just as a bonus. And this is the reason. Not many people often have the parts on them to jump in a car and use it straight away. So unless you build a garage and you store it, you just don't tend to use them. And I know they don't want everyone driving cars all over the place all the time, because that'll kill the gameplay of roaming the lands, fighting hand to hand with weapons, etc. And I get that, but at the moment I think it's, unless you gather all this stuff up and then make a purpose trip back to a car, which you could lose the stuff again, your plugs and your pistons, because you get shot, it makes it too much of an effort for people to warrant spending the time. And that's the big reason they're not used. So for me, all they need to do is, when you find a car, have 1 or 2 of the components already in there. If you're lucky, they might all be in there. That could be really rare. Have it as like a, RND, it's a random drop. You could get a 90% chance you might have 1 item in there. There's an 80% chance you might have 2 items already in there. There's a 5% chance all the items might be in there. Or a 2% chance all the items might be in there with a bit of fuel as well. And that way people can also use them as a resource to gather the items, because there's not really going to be a chance of you finding a broken down car on the side and it missing its pistons, So it adds a bit of realism as well, and that's all it needs to be. That's all that needs to be done. I know it's a very fine line. You don't want everyone driving cars, but just up that a little bit, and they could be good for general use. You find a horse, you use it immediately. But it still encourages people to have garages if they want to mess around with the modules and that sort of thing. But, just make it a little bit easier still. I know some balancing has been done with this, as I said. And who doesn't want to have 2 V8s strapped together? V8s? It only says 4 pistons there, but you know what I mean. You know, it's a good idea. A lot of work was done, again, by Facepunch on this, and they are good. I've had garages. I've built different cars. I've used the water carrier, the caravan, all of that stuff. And it is good, but the effort you need, if I can speak, to get them off the ground, it isn't too high. But when you're getting shot all the time, it makes people reluctant to go out and get the stuff. So please, Facepunch, just the broken down cars you leave on the side. Just occasionally leave them with a few items in and make it just a little bit easier. Because I, for one, would like to see a few more of these beasts dotted around the map in use. Because it all adds to the fun. And yeah. Anyway. Thanks for calling. See you in the next one.